Stellantis said my mic is not working. Oh, it is on. Apologies. Buyout packages for local auto workers. Stellantis says more information is coming next week. The turmoil in Sudan is taking a toll on the Sudanese community here in Windsor. We'll hear about the fears as violence escalates. And more from our Halfway to Home series, stories about immigration. Tonight, the challenges of dealing with the new financial system. Let's start tonight with SafePoint, Windsor's first drug consumption and treatment site. It opened its doors to the community today, and we know it's been a long time coming. For more on this, we're joined by CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa, who is live outside SafePoint. Jen, what do we know about how the first day went?
Well, we really don't know much. I reached out to the health unit and Hotel Dieu Grace Healthcare earlier today, and they said they really couldn't share any information on how today went. They said that, they couldn't really tell me who used the site today. They were really focused on having a smooth opening, but they said that that's information that they are planning to share in the future. Addictions experts from Hotel Dieu have previously told us that, they're anticipating a lower turnout in the beginning, just as people sort of build trust with them and as they realize that this resource is here in our community. Taking us a little bit back now, so it's taken us 7 years to actually get to this point, and a lot of that was, community pushback. There was political red tape and COVID-19 that led to a lot of delays. And so we have it here now, so we're really going to have to see how things go moving forward. This past week, I've spent time talking with people who are in recovery from opioid use, and they tell me that any sort of resource that can prevent an overdose or a death is going to be really positive for our community. But they were a little bit hesitant about how convenient this site is. They said, a mobile site meeting people where they're at would be really great, or overnight hours would really be helpful. Another person that I spoke with who was in recovery said, if this site can give someone another day, that's another day closer to them possibly wanting to change. So right now, Cat SafePoint is open every day of the week, and that's from 10 to 6 p.m.
Thanks for this, Jen. That's CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reporting live from outside of SafePoint tonight. Buyout packages are going to be offered to auto workers in Windsor. Stellantis made the announcement today, saying that information packages will go out next week. The company says it's reviewing North American operations as the shift to electric vehicles continues. A spokesperson telling us they're looking to reduce costs. The buyouts are described as favorable options for employees who want to find new careers. People who have 15 years with the company are getting offers in the United States. There are no specific details on what will be offered to Canadian employees.
I declare the motion carried.
And with that, Ojibwe National Park is now another step closer to becoming a reality. This is an important moment to mark. The bill to create the park has now received near unanimous support from members of Parliament, and it's now off to the Senate for review. Tensions are high in Sudan as warring sides in the country are struggling to abide by a 3-day ceasefire. Reaction to the violence is being felt by the Sudanese community in Windsor. TJ Deere has more.
Mohammed Cody starts off each day by looking at the news. On April 15th, he saw something he initially didn't believe. Violence in Sudan. Only when he contacted his family in Sudan did he believe what he was seeing.
We was shocked. I'm shocked. I didn't even come to work that day. I just stayed home.
The Sudanese military has been fighting with a rival paramilitary group all over the country. Although skirmishes are occurring elsewhere in Sudan, most of the conflict is centered on the capital city of Khartoum. Although his family was able to leave Khartoum for his hometown of Wad Medani, he's worried the fighting will spread there as well.
They're safe down there, but we never know. It could be start war down there anytime.
The president of the Sudanese Community Organization, who's an internist at Windsor Regional Hospital, also has family members still in Sudan. Although his niece and nephew were able to make it to Egypt, others in Sudan aren't so lucky.
People now are facing difficulties in doing this. Tickets prices are high because of this crisis, no fuel.
Ahmed says the war has taken its toll on civilians still there.
People, they cannot get money from banks. No ATM machine, no banks, no cash in their hands because they are not expecting this war. No food, no electricity, nothing.
It is heartbreaking.
Ahmed said some people from Windsor traveled to Toronto to take part in a rally on Sunday. He said Windsor's Sudanese community is trying to do something similar here. He says the fighting sides are only making things worse.
We don't know when it will stop. This is the second week. They are not listening to what the world is telling them, is to cease fire.
Global Affairs Canada has temporarily suspended operations in Sudan, and the Canadian military is working on airlifting trapped civilians out. But the situation is becoming too much for Cody.
Yeah, war is not good. We will never be in war. And unfortunately, this has been happening to other people in our country. It used to be going in a lot of places. But right now, we've seen it in real life. We used to hear about it, but it's not like when you've seen it, like it's so sad. It's really hurting. This is how I feel, Yeah, it's so sad.
Cody only wants one thing for the people in Sudan.
I hope everybody's gonna be out of this war, safe.
TJ Deere, CBC News, Windsor.
For 8 days now, federal civil servants have been on strike, 155,000 of them. Disruptions to important services are causing concern in government circles. Immigration Minister Sean Fraser says citizenship ceremonies have been canceled and an immigration backlog is growing. Kate McKenna has more on the dispute that, as of now, shows no signs of ending.
Thousands of people are on Parliament Hill today in what is supposed to be the largest picket line since the strike started. This despite word that negotiations have stalled.
My friends, they still have 9% on the table over 3 years. And they're telling us that we have to move. That's not how bargaining works.
Both sides are still at the table, but the union says the Treasury Board won't budge on its wage offer. The government says its offer was recommended by a third party, but the union says it doesn't keep up with inflation.
Well, I'm actually frustrated this morning because we keep to receive offers that are unreasonable, unaffordable by the PSCC, and this is continuing the strike. And I wish that we could find a reasonable place to be able to offer, of course, fair wages to employees. I cannot write a blank check.
The tone of the rhetoric on both sides has escalated. There is an online petition circulating to fire Treasury Board President Mona Fortier. The union is calling for the Prime Minister to intervene in negotiations, and there were several demonstrations that slowed down traffic and services across Canada. Workers here say they'll picket for as long as it takes.
I think today it's stronger than ever, and that's what gives me hope. It keeps me feeling okay and not fall into and not feel like we're doing nothing, being useless.
You have to ask yourself, are they serious about ending the strike? Are they serious about bargaining with public service? Because we're trying to do our best to bargain in good faith.
It's been more than a week since this strike was called. Still, there's no deal in sight. The government says it's willing to let this play out for now. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Back to Windsor now. Overcrowding continues at the Southwest Detention Centre, with some describing the conditions as inhumane. The CBC's Jason Veal has the story.
What's going on inside of the walls here at the Southwest Detention Centre isn't good. That's according to one local criminal defense lawyer and a woman whose friend is an inmate inside. Let's start with her. She says that friend is inside of a cell with 3 people total, really designed to hold 2 people. That means one person inside of that cell is sleeping on a mattress on the ground.
It is inhumane. And he even went as far as said, animals in a pound get treated better. Yeah. Like, when I hear stuff like that, I understand they did break the law, but you don't treat people like that.
Plus, when talking to that friend on the phone who's here at the Southwest Detention Centre, she hears about frequent lockdowns. He said that over a period of 23 days, they've gotten to spend 15 hours outside of the cell. The rest of the time, inside that cell.
It's sad. Yeah. And like I said, it's not the guard's fault or the staff. I believe it's the government. They're not funded enough. They don't have enough staff.
The jail here is relatively new. It opened back in 2014. Take a look at video we had of a tour inside before inmates arrived. But local criminal defense lawyer Bobby Russin says he's been hearing about issues of overcrowding and frequent lockdowns here for the last 3 years. Since this is mostly a place for people awaiting trial, Russin says the majority of people in there haven't been found guilty of anything.
So it's not just inhumane on its face for a sentenced prisoner, it's inhumane and contradictory to the presumption of innocence and the right to reasonable bail that are in our Constitution.
I asked the Ministry of the Solicitor General, which oversees Ontario's jails, what they're doing to address these issues. In an emailed statement, they didn't directly respond to that question, but a spokesperson did acknowledge what they call capacity pressures here at Windsor's jail. The president of OPSEU Local 135, which represents workers here, says overcrowding is an ongoing battle. Katrina DiGiacinto says some units were built to hold 30 inmates, but it's not uncommon for that to instead be 50 people inside. So what's the solution here? Lawyer Bobby Russin says it's a combination of things, starting with more resources in the judicial system to speed things along so people spend less time in jail waiting for trial. But he points to other ways that may help.
That's just the amount of people who are in there doing time because they failed to report to probation or breached a meaningless bail condition would make your head spin.
As far as lockdowns go here, Russin says staffing shortages can be to blame, and corrections staff are under constant pressure because it's overcrowded, and the union says that leads to more people quitting, prompting a constant search for new staff. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
All week at CBC Windsor, we've been sharing stories with you about what it's like to be an immigrant in Windsor, Essex. It's part of the series Halfway to Home. I sat down with the series creator, Aman Gawan-May. I asked her what it was like to have these conversations.
Oh, it's been incredible. I mean, I remember this one funny experience is I went in to speak with a group of ladies, and I was like, hi, I'm from CBC, and I want to talk to you. And then all these immigrant ladies were like, no, we can't. We're worried. You know, our English is not good enough. And people started walking away. And I went, let me just tell you what I'm doing this on. Do you remember when you first came here? Do you remember when? And I would just say an example. And then people they would just gravitated back to the center, and they sat down with me and they allowed me to have these conversations with them. It's been healing and validating. And it's been, of course, life-changing for me, and an honor, of course, to have these people trust me with their stories. These are very vulnerable memories, very vulnerable moments in people's lives. A lot of them, they don't want to even recall these times. And to feel comfortable to sit with me and tell me their story and having me share it with people, what an honor.
Tell me more about how it's been healing for you.
My family and I don't really talk about those initial years in Canada, the integration years. We didn't have time. Nobody had time. You're trying to survive mostly, Kat. And then when that's over, you're so glad it's over, you don't want to remember it. And a lot of it, it's been funny. I've been having conversations and people would say things and a memory would pop up that I had pushed to the back of my head, you know? And it's been healing because it's so good to realize that I'm not alone and that a lot of this like anger that I still kind of have, this feeling of despair that has never gone away, I'm not the only one. People still feel this way, and it's not abnormal to still have those feelings of whether it's regret or disappointment in your actions or whatever it may be from those initial years. I'm not the only one that has them, and that's healing, is to feel validated and to see what I feel reflected in the eyes of the people that I speak to, you know?
What did you learn from the people that agreed to speak with you?
I've learned that your experiences come in every shape, way, or size. Despite of how you came, if you came here as a refugee, as an asylum seeker, as an economic immigrant, whatever it is, there is, no matter what you've experienced and how it was coming here, people end up having identical experiences in certain, I would say, like fields. So, for example, you would sit with people who have completely different careers, they're completely different educational paths and all these things, and then you would say, you know what I miss? Like, I miss the candy that I used to get from back home. And everybody would go, oh my gosh, me too. And it's bizarre to see that no matter where you came from, what you experience coming here, it's emotions and these small, tiny little memories that connect us all together. It's been educational to also not kind of see a new perspective of another person's perspective of how they experience their integration, and to allow myself to not only think about my own experiences, but understand that the experiences of others are just as important. To have that time to not, I've self-reflected already, but to reflect on the experiences of others and have that empathy, that's been amazing. It's that it's not just about me, it's about everybody, right? Please listen to these conversations if you get the chance and the opportunity to do so, because they're such rich stories. What a privilege it was to hear them. And I think that giving people the opportunity to listen and to give yourself the opportunity to have an open heart, it's wonderful. And I really, really hope that people are able to listen to these stories and interact with them and maybe just have some of their questions answered.
And we will hear some stories later in the program. In the meantime, take a live look outside. Your weather is next. It is time now for your weather. Now, personally, I have been eager for springtime warmth, but it's still a bit chilly out there today. Victor Paolo has more now on the days ahead.
Katerina, looking at the map of North America here, we can see some trends. One trend is that warm weather working its way up from the southwest all the way towards us eventually. But one thing, when you look at the northeast of North America, southeast of Ontario, you do see that it's below seasonal temperatures. 8 degrees here in Toronto, in Quebec 6 degrees, and that means that trend is going to be lasting all the way through to the beginning of May. So it looks like April's going out in typical April fashion, which is April showers, of course. Now looking at the radar, see what we can expect when it comes to Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Frost is a warning which we all have to watch out for. It's going to be a frosty day. We're expecting it to feel closer to -1 right around 3 o'clock in the morning. That means if you have any sensitive plants on the balcony, you want to make sure you bring them on in. Or if you have your window open close to some sensitive plants, you want to make sure that you might want to remove them a little bit further away. Now looking at later on into the day for when things start to clear, you do see clear skies are going to be the main consistent theme here. Now with clear skies, that means two things. That means you don't get to feel any of that insulation from the clouds keeping all the heat in. So that's why it's going to be cool in the morning. Now the other thing is that without the clouds, you get to really have that sun on you and get to really feel that heat. So that's one thing which you can all look forward to. Now one thing we can also look at when it comes to the rainfall is the totals we're going to be expecting. Now the rainfall totals we're expecting to fall over the area between now and around your commute home on Friday. About 7 millimeters of rain will be falling, 7 to 10. So you want to make sure when it comes to your Friday and your commute home, you're definitely prepared for that. Now, looking at what the weather will be tomorrow morning, your little ones are getting ready, or you're potentially getting ready for work, it's going to be 3 degrees feeling like 1. We do take a look here at our temperature is going to be expected for the next couple of hours. Around 7 o'clock in the morning, as mentioned, it's going to be 3 degrees, feeling like 1 degree. Around noon, it's going to get all the way up to 12, a mix of sun and cloud, and the clouds will finally clear around your commute home to have a nice 14-degree day with some southeast winds. Now, once all that's said and done, taking a look at 10 o'clock p.m. and your overnight, we're expecting a bit of precipitation. But hey, what's spring without all the mix of sun and rain? Back to you, Katerina.
When we come back, more from our series Halfway to Home. Stay with us. Our Halfway to Home series continues this week. Today, we're taking a look at financial literacy and what it's like navigating the financial system as a newcomer when everything is so different from what it was like back home.
Do you remember the first time that you felt like you're becoming financially comfortable, or you felt like you were set enough roots that it didn't feel like survival all the time?
I don't think there is such a thing. Because every time there is something happen, you feel you're not stable financially, especially when you get a house, wife, mortgage, kids. Every time they grow, there is more responsibilities. But what I believe it's not the financial. It's when you are educated enough, when you are knowing the system enough, when you became familiar with the society, the language, the city, then you became enough stable. You have asset, not in the bank, it's here, right here, when you know the system enough.
Our daughter, our first child, she straight A student all her life, but we only found out towards the end that she could have qualified for some not just grants, yes, to scholarships to study to go to post-secondary institutions. We didn't know. We didn't even know there was such a thing to go look for, and they didn't share with her. So she got to Western and found out some things and started applying. And thankfully, she made it. Also, when we got into real estate and we were buying fixer-uppers, I later found out that we could have gotten grants from the CMHC or whatever to renovate those Ronda apartments. Most people that were born and raised there were getting their money. We weren't. So that was tough. And the other thing that I wish we had, most importantly, is a community organization that caters to people like us, that can show us, okay, that can relate to where we came from and help us integrate. But we were so few in Windsor then. We used to take the phone book, the Bell Canada phone book, and go through names to see a name that sounded Nigerian, so we could call them and say, hello, we're in Windsor, we're also from Nigeria. And then just the few Nigerian families that we met, and we just sit down and talk and call each other uncle, auntie, whatever. But there was no organization at that time that could give us the support that now we're able to give to others, thankfully.
And you can read more on the series on our website. And as the stories are shared throughout the week, they're all leading up to a big event this weekend on Saturday. It's called Creating Space at Budimir Library from 2 to 4 p.m. It's a way to bring the community together and celebrate diversity. I'll be there with some of my colleagues. We look forward to meeting you. We're going to have swag, there will be guest speakers, and a number of resources for newcomers as well. In terms of RSVPs, we have actually already reached full capacity, but we would still love it for you to swing by. Drop-in space might still be available. To the UK now. A high-flying rehearsal today for the crowning of King Charles. Military aircraft took to the skies over the Royal Air Force Base in Cranwell, England. 30 planes and helicopters will do a flyover at Buckingham Palace in London on the day of the coronation. It will be the UK's first coronation in 70 years. King Charles became monarch when Queen Elizabeth died in September, but his actual crowning takes place on Saturday, May 6th. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can always go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can also find us on Facebook and on Instagram. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.